address of your emergency?
78. Help!
Alien 2001 operator 6180. What's the address of your emergency? 1797 Sumter Street. We're being robbed at gunpoint.
No. They're following me to my house. The guns are already out. She's shooting. Okay.
Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On this week's episode, we take you to South Carolina for a reenactment which we have entitled Shocked Awake. But before I get started, I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. We know that you have many choices, and I'm glad that you have chose us. But I also want to give you a quick update on what some of our panelists have been doing. So, Lieutenant Dan, I know you've been signing books. Tell us about the book.
My book that just came out is Law Dogs, Great Cops in American History. It's 30 stories of some of the best cops you never heard of. From 1824 to current times, it's an action-packed history. You're going to read about the real Lone Ranger, the real Tonto, the real Rooster Cogburn. You're going to hear and read about how the FBI was almost shot out of existence in 1934 and located some gunfighters from local agencies, recruited them, and they shot themselves back into existence. It's quite a story. Some of the females are incredible, the female officers. What they did, I'm not going to give anything away, but I don't believe it can be duplicated.
Really?
Yes.
So if you have a favorite law enforcement officer, male or female, it would seem, probably going to be in your book.
Absolutely. It's not a great book because I'm a great writer. It's a great book because these are great stories.
And you put a lot of research behind it.
Absolutely.
You had to have.
Absolutely.
Dianna, now, you know, I know you've been busy.
I have. This whole year has been a busy year when in competition, so that's what I do.
Right.
So I'm used to the schedule.
Captain of the Benelli team?
Captain of the Benelli team, and we just got back from Italy, and we won gold, the U.S. ladies team, at the World IPSC Shotgun Championships, and then we came home, and I actually won the NRA World Championship, which has 12 different disciplines, and they try to level the playing field by using all the provided guns and provided ammo. So they're trying to find the best shooter, and I actually came out on top there and got a good paycheck.
Yeah, and got a paycheck, which doesn't happen that often, right? I mean, usually you come back with the hardware.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, and Lieutenant Donn, you flew in, and I appreciate that, from New Mexico, and thank you for joining us once again. On today's reenactment, a man in his 70s in a nice neighborhood is going to be attacked. And without giving the whole thing away, I just want to go right straight to today's police force. I mean, don't we have a police force so that a guy can walk around in his own yard and not feel as though he's going to be attacked by somebody? No, we don't have that police force.
No, increasingly agencies are trying to do more with less. And as they continue to get stretched farther and farther, the resources just don't go as far, and you don't have the same level of protection.
We're talking about lack of cops. We don't have enough?
That's it. We don't have enough.
Is that it, Lieutenant? We just don't have enough?
Well, you could actually...
Not enough money either.
You could position an officer on each block in every city, and still there would be a response time, the time between the attack and arrival. There's always going to be lag time.
So, Dianna, what do we need to do?
Well, I don't know that it's a law enforcement issue or question. It's more about where society is and what society's doing, because we see a more and more violent society, and he's right. We are a little understaffed, and the more crime, the less officers, then it doesn't add up to a good equation.
So arm yourself.
Absolutely. Take your own safety into your own hands and prepare.
Okay. All right. We come back, I'm going to show you part one. I think what we're suggesting here, folks, is it doesn't make any difference whether it's in your backyard or it's in another area of your state. Being armed is still a pretty good idea. And when we come back, I'm going to show you part one and a good reason why it should be. Welcome back, viewers. Today's reenactment is an assault on an elderly man who lives alone in a nice neighborhood. And before I show you part one, I'm just going to make a personal statement here. I want you to think about your neighborhood. I want you to ask yourself if there are people there that are living by themselves, either possibly physically impaired somehow, or maybe they're just in those parts of their life that doesn't allow them as much mobility. And when was the last time you dropped by to say hello? I'm just going to kind of go with that for a second. Let's watch part one.
Give me your keys.
Okay, this is Anybody and Everybody USA, okay? Gee, you know, it's Sunday morning, you went out to get the paper, and he's going to church, and this sort of thing happens. You know, someone I know at the table is going to say situational awareness. I hope that you don't. Because, come on, this is my backyard. I mean, I walk out the back door all the time. Do I need to be looking in the bushes?
Well, yes, I guess.
Yeah.
No, it can happen to any of us. It can happen to anybody that we love. It can happen to anybody that we know. And we do this all day, every day. So this isn't out of the question. This isn't something that he's done wrong.
And he had pretty good security. If you notice, he had a deadbolt lock on the door, and it looked like a solid core door, and he had that wrought iron gate with a lock on it as well. So some of the superficial security measures have been thought of.
Which in many cases we've said on the show, you know, maybe you should have this, maybe, well, he's got some of those things.
Correct.
He's feeling pretty secure, Lieutenant. What?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things I've noticed over the years in talking with the victims is they're most comfortable in their own home. And they'll say, but this has never happened to me before, not in my neighborhood. So we do have a tendency to relax when we're on our own property. But the other thing I've noticed is when evil lurks and attacks, and evil, you never know when it's going to visit your doorstep, when it does, they feel so violated and they never feel the same at home again. And it's a tragedy.
Not only them, but everybody in the neighborhood.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I mean, his neighbors are now all going to be affected by this.
You know, they talk about the police. I always say police, they used to, the father of modern law enforcement, Robert Peel, said, police are the public, public are police, police are only member of the public that are paid to do what's incumbent on every citizen. So that being said, it helps when your whole neighborhood is paying attention to something that doesn't look right or someone that doesn't look right, because this man was not in a position to see it, and victims, sometimes that's just the point where they're at, and that's why they're chosen as victims.
Yeah, and I think you struck upon a good point there, that there are very successful neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
And the successful neighborhoods have been those that did exactly what you just got through
Watch
saying.
out for each
They
other.
work together, they look out the window, they know what's going on, it's a Sunday, who's here, who's not there, a car. I think you have to kind of get up off your butt and get participating in something in your neighborhood. Huh?
Yeah, and going back to the recreation, some of the things that you can take away from that is the bushes were a little overgrown,
Yes.
and had he parked in the garage, it kind of would have taken.
Would have mitigated
yeah, it would have
some of that,
mitigated it
yeah,
all.
sure,
So that's what you
that's
can
good.
learn from what we've seen so far.
Which
Yeah,
is easy
okay.
for us sitting here in this
It's
sterile
It's always
environment
easy
to say
for us
that.
to do
Yes.
that. But we're trying to get through to some of those folks at home and leave them with some ideas. And in this case, there's not much you can say. I mean, gee whiz, a guy's he's going to church on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Who's going to expect anything to happen?
Every one of us here has done exactly what that man's done.
Yes, we have. When we come back, I'm going to show you part 2. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. We've just seen a man becoming a target of a carjacking right in his own driveway. It's a Sunday morning. Let's see what happens when you push a man too far. Part 2.
Give me your keys.
You're gonna make me late for church. Leave an old man alone.
Dad, give me your keys.
Okay, who was surprised? Raise your hand. Yeah, okay? I think we were all a little bit surprised. Remember, we don't make these up. These are real stories. This did take place. And I have to congratulate that man for being prepared, huh?
Absolutely. I think the man who was really surprised was the bad guy.
The young guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what was wonderful about that is that's part of our greatest generation, and now he is still with us. That's how I look at this.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, I like that.
A textbook case for a good, righteous shooting. You
And
know,
that's
it's
exactly
a
what
terrible
that-
tragedy all the
Yeah.
way around for both
Right.
people involved. But if it has to happen, it doesn't get much better than that.
I don't know. What other mistakes were made here? Any?
Well, I think the biggest mistake was poor victim selection. I mean, that bad guy came up and picked somebody who
Appeared to be easy.
and he wasn't. I bet he has a background, maybe military or something. Something made him alert. And
Prepared.
absolutely, he was absolutely prepared. So the mistakes were all on a bad guy's part. You can't fault the gentleman
No.
for being on his way to church and being a little lackadaisical. It's a Sunday morning.
That's right.
Now, he tried to reason with him.
Absolutely.
He said, come on, leave me alone. You know, I'm going to church. Stronger voice intimidation, would that have changed the situation? If the older man had gotten louder and maybe shown some anger, would you think that would have scared off the young guy?
I don't think so.
Studies I've seen that some bad guys are more agitated, more likely to harm you if you get aggressive, and some are more likely to harm you if you submit. So there's really nothing you can tell
There's
the
no
public.
pat answer is what you're saying.
Not at all.
He's carrying a taser. That's a pretty safe weapon to have, right? Because even if he's interviewed by law enforcement, he's going to say, oh, it's there for my protection. It's not like a gun, not like a knife, it's a taser. I'm just saying his choice of weapons, I mean, there's been some thought behind this. He's chosen that really nice looking black Tahoe. He's chosen to have a taser as opposed to a gun, which I'm going to guess he could have had a gun. He could have had a knife, but he chose the taser. So I'm not saying he's totally dumb.
And he's made a choice of someone that
Who he thought was
seems to
gonna-
be
yeah.
the least able to defend themselves in our midst.
Okay, so like I said, then if law enforcement had interviewed the young man for one reason or another, and you found that he has had a taser with him, what can you do?
It would depend on the jurisdiction. In some jurisdictions, it would be considered a concealed,
let's
weapon.
Let's assume that it's not going to be one of those. You're and this happened to be South Carolina. Frankly, I probably should have looked that up, and I don't know. Viewers at home, please tell me, send me an email. But I'm guessing that taser was probably legal, and he picked it up at the hardware store. I don't know where wherever you get these things. And he's walking around with it. So law enforcement stops him.
They're going to run a check. He might be wanted on warrants because usually someone like that has a history. But beyond that, he's not, if the weapon is legal to carry, he's not violating any laws. But they'll have his name on file at that point, and he's less likely to go out and commit a crime after that contact.
Okay. And they will detail that he had that taser on them when the encounter took place with the police as well.
So the interview would be recorded.
Absolutely.
And that's a good idea. Now, unfortunately, I don't know that actually took place. In fact, I'm pretty sure it didn't. But, when we were talking about him as an individual, like I said, he did appear to be driven. He knew where he was going. He knew what he was going after. He was carrying a weapon that he knew he could carry legally. And I think in South Carolina, like I said, tell me if I'm wrong, because unfortunately I didn't look that up. So the bad guy here is what?
One of the things I took away, and our viewers can take away, is that he seemed distraught once he fatally wounded this guy.
There was remorse.
So,
clearly.
that's just something that you need to be prepared for, that, this is a life-altering situation.
Yes, it is.
And it did make me feel good that he could protect himself, though. Right. So, it was a good feeling, but I felt sorry for him because I knew that he I wish I didn't have to do that.
He's going to suffer from it.
Yeah.
We come back, I've got a few more things we want to discuss, and then I'll give you a follow-up on what did take place. So don't go away. Thanks for coming back, viewers. By the way, if you have some comments on this series or any other series that we've done, you can reach me on Facebook as well as an email, so take advantage of that if you'd like to make a comment. Now, I know many of you have, and I appreciate it. But let's go back just a second. I think there's a part of this that maybe we glossed over, and it's all fine and dandy, excuse the expression, to be armed and trained and ready. But I don't think people really understand the results of squeezing the trigger and actually taking someone's life. And you saw it on that man when he rolled up against that tire, even going into it. He knew he was armed. He knew he was going to have to draw that weapon. And he was doing it so reluctantly and with great regret.
Absolutely. And people don't think about that, the consequences of that you're going to have to live with that. Yes, was this a clear textbook case of a justified shooting? Absolutely. But it's a terrible thing that young man forced that older gentleman to have to do that and to have to live with that the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And I don't like using the word regret because, he won. It wasn't his decision.
Okay. Sure.
It wasn't
Bad
his
choice of
decision to do that. So I don't know that the man has any regrets or that he should have any regrets. It's just that heartfelt, life-changing moment that you took somebody's life. And it's not easy, but that's something that we need to train for and our viewers can learn from, is that it is going to change your life.
It will.
Hey, Lieutenant, cops even have to go through a program when they've shot someone.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's a pretty life-impacting thing, even for law enforcement.
Oh, absolutely. And I look at a citizen having to take a life like a cop. We're all good people. And bad guys carry guns to do harm. Good guys and good ladies carry guns to do good. And when you have to do good, it's always, with a firearm, it's always in a bad situation. And there is emotional toll when it's all over with, and you have to be prepared to handle it. But you have to realize that you'll only be healthy afterwards when you come to grips that you did what you had to do.
So I'll bet that there's probably been a number of cases that you've come involved with over the course of your careers where a civilian has taken the life of someone else.
Yes.
And I'm guessing, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you saw the emotional impact it had on that individual.
Some people can misread it as because another emotion that plays into it after you have a chance to think about it is anger. You get viscerally angry that although the person you took their life, you're viscerally angry at them for making you do it.
Right. And they were justified in doing it, as Dianna said. But
you have to look at the other side, and that is if that elderly gentleman on the screen had capitulated, he's liable to be the one that was dead.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, the guy's on the way to church.
That's right.
I mean, what worse circumstance could you be in? I'm going to church, and now I'm going to have to shoot somebody. And
even in this situation, the last thing a person wants to do, a good person, is take a life. But in this situation, if they don't, it may be the last thing they ever do.
All right. Let me give you the follow-up on this because we are running out of time. I don't think it's going to come as any surprise to you. The bad guy was dead on the scene, and no arrests were made. Thank you for tuning in this week. I appreciate the fact that you're contacting me on Facebook and Twitter. And for those of you who haven't found me there, please make an effort to do so. I'm glad to hear from you. I do want to leave you with a quote from a neighbor of mine. If you cannot make a decision, someone will make it for you. Thank you, Charlie and Cheryl. Be safe, be trained, be alert.